Welcome everyone, hope you enjoyed that little ad. I am back here with fan side of zone Josh Hill for A Song of Dan and Josh, the show where we walk through every chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire, analyzing them, what makes them work, what makes them tick, what are the themes and the ideas, what are they? Today we're going to talk about a hugely important chapter,
Yes.
Arya V, a.k.a. the one where Ned Stark dies.
Yep.
I've read the books multiple times. Josh never read the books. Let's get to it. And really, really quick before we start, Lisa asked if we pay postage for Europe, can we enter the competitions? And I'm sorry, Lisa, just for this particular series of giveaways, no, because they're done through fun.com. And fun.com actually sends the stuff out. So, and they only do in the U.S. But we will do our own giveaways where we will open it up to the world, as, for example, in the Wit Club, where we give giveaways to everywhere.
There you go.
But okay, we're here to talk about Arya V,
Yep.
which is the most important chapter in this book.
Yes.
Okay.
It's devastating.
Was it devastating?
Yeah.
What was your reaction? This is Ned Stark's death chapter.
It was rough. First of all, hello, everybody. I'm in the passenger seat this week. I was in the driver's seat last week. People were surprisingly not happy to see you not around. I didn't take it
That's very
personally,
sweet.
but people were very upset to see you in Denmark.
I should go read the comments. Well, thank you, everybody. But also, I hope you were very friendly to Josh.
Oh, they were. We always love all the audience. No, this chapter was a little rough. Like it was tough. The fact that it was told from Arya's perspective, I think, was important because we kind of went through. I mean, we did go through this from her standpoint, from her eyes and through her head, and I feel like she was the closest to Ned as far as like the children were concerned, because Jon literally got sent away. I mean, but
Right.
He's not even Ned's son biologically.
Sure.
Sansa is kind of going through her teenage
Kind of
years.
going her own way a bit.
Yeah, and she's going her
in
own
her
way.
why you're into my life, Dad phase.
Yeah, and Arya, it seemed, was in that perfect kind of time in our lives where our parents are everything and the world
That's
is such
very
an
true.
innocent place, even though she'd kind of started to see things weren't so innocent. But it was kind of like in this small little window of the world's still innocent, she's still a child.
She is
and
still a
this
child,
is like
yes.
her growing up moment. This is life comes crashing down, reality comes and smacks her, and all of a sudden she's not a little girl anymore. She's alone in this world, and she has to grow up on her own, and she grows up within a chapter, at least mentally, or she's forced to. So, and I really appreciated that it was from her perspective. So I was trying to think if this was from any of the other characters' perspectives, like Sansa or Cersei.
Or Ned.
Or
Could've done
Ned.
it.
Yeah, or Ned. I don't think it would have had the same effect because we were literally seeing this through a child's eyes, even though she's as grizzled as a child can be.
Yeah, as
But
much could
still.
be. Yeah, I like that point because I thought about it too. Like Martin could have done this through Sansa's perspective, or could have done it through Ned's perspective.
Yep.
Not to spoil things, but the Red Wedding is done through Catelyn's perspective, and she dies at the end of it, and that still worked. But he chose Arya, and probably for the reasons you're saying. This is her rosebud moment. This is
Yep.
why she has that list. This is what she's been trying to make up for the rest of the show, like fill that hole that Ned left when she saw her. So it's important to kind of be there at the moment when it all falls out from under her.
Yeah.
And I like the bit about her still being a child too, because I mean she is still a child, and the first chunk of the chapter is kind of just her life on the streets. And even though it's sad, there is like a pluckiness to it
Yep.
that is kind of Dickensian or childlike. She,
Yeah.
like, you know, she walks around like smacking pigeons with her wooden stick and turning them into pot shops. Like she details, like she checks the gates. It's hard, but I mean, it's that there's still like a certain kind of adventure quality to it.
Yeah.
And the innocence comes through too. Like when there's the bit about when she's in the pot shops turning her pigeons in for food, and she says like men look at her and she did not know what they wanted. Now we know what they want.
Yep.
They're looking at her for sex. I'm
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But she's just too young to know it.
Yeah.
Which is tragic. But it's also true to life.
Yep.
That she's just wouldn't know what they're doing there. But she knows to be afraid. I also love how resourceful she is in this chapter. Like Sansa could not do this. She could not live on the streets of King's Landing for weeks on end, like smacking pigeons and turning them in, and
chance.
like finding places to sleep and trying to communicate with the neighborhood girls. Like Arya's very resourceful. But I mean, again, she's still a kid, so it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
I like. What do you think of that moment where she walks up to the ship that was supposed to take her away. And again, she's smart. She realizes, oh, that's a trap. Those are Lannister guys in Stark clothes. They are hoping I go up there so they can get me. And then she talks her way out of it.
Yeah.
Like, she bluffs her way out of it. She says, okay, they think I'm a boy. You want this pigeon? And they're like, get out of here. They think she's a bum. So she's very smart and very resourceful and very plucky.
Plucky. I like that. Yeah, that's the innocence of a child is hard to get across with Arya, like you say, because she is so like, it is like Dickensian. But I don't think it would have been as effective of a chapter if it was through anybody else's perspective. And like,
Right.
and the whole boat thing and avoiding a trap, that's an evolution of Arya. I think that's kind of vintage Arya, which well, I guess now you say that because we're so far into the show and we know where she's come in her arc, or I guess in the books, I guess people who have read them. But this seems to me like that is her on her own trying to figure things out. She's got to do this. It's really, there's nothing else for her to do. And she clearly has, it's a demonstration of, it's almost like bittersweet where it's like, you're going to be all right, kid.
Totally.
Like, she's going to be fine. She's going to be able to look out for herself. She doesn't have a father anymore. She's on her own. She'll never see her family again, unbeknownst to her at the time. But this is like kind of the bittersweet, pluckiness, like pluck up, kid. Like you're going to be fine.
And she's thinking of ways to get out. Like, she thinks about, I could swim the river, but it'd be hard. I got to find a way to get out this gate. So she's making plans.
Yeah.
Also, a key moment is she talks about Needle.
Yep.
Like, at this point, Needle has always been kind of a symbol for her, but from now on, it really takes on a lot of significance. Like, she was robbed when she first got out there, but she slept under Needle. She'd been lying on top of Needle, or else it would have been stolen too. It was worth more than all the rest together. So at this point, Needle is going to be a good old-fashioned literary symbol, and just kind of, it symbolizes her Starkness.
Yep.
Like, she's going to go through a lot. We all know that. But as long as she keeps that sword, she's still a Stark at heart, is what that's going to go, which is, very effective. You can use it. Makes a great MacGuffin.
Yeah.
By the way, Julie says that you did well last week, Josh.
Oh, thank you, Julie.
So you were a hit.
All right.
Let's talk about the actual death moment, because nobody is, in the comments are talking about that.
Yes.
Lisa says that Arya watching her dad die like that shaped the character for the rest of the series. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at how kind of quick the moment itself was? Because unlike on the show, we actually see the kind of the sword go into Ned's neck. We do not see Ned die in the book. Yoren finds her. Do you remember Yoren, the Night's Watch guy? She finds Arya, knows to don't look at that. That's your dad dying. But she still hears it. Dimly, as if from far away, she heard a noise, a soft sighing sound, as if a million people had let out their breath at once. And that's it. Like, that's the moment Ned dies. The sound she's hearing is probably the sword slicing through his neck.
Yep.
Is that too small for such a big moment?
No, I think it's very it's very existential, I guess, because it's like this idea that this is a massive character death. Like, this is the hero, the person we thought was going to be the hero of these books, of this series, dying, and literally he dies with a thud of his head falling off.
And he dies in a chapter that's from someone else's perspective.
Yeah.
Even though he's been kind of the lead guy throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it's very nihilistic in a way, where it's like, this is just, it's he's just dead. That's it. And I'm thinking about like other like historical moments. Like, you think about, like something like 9/11 or something like that, where it's like so seared into our minds.
Sure.
Because we saw footage of it over and over and over and over and over again. But everybody always talks about, and this is the same with any kind of tragedy, the Kennedy assassination. You see the Zapruder film over again.
Right.
It's like, what people talk about is you'll remember where you were when. And you don't remember actually like watching, I mean, I know I don't because I wasn't alive, but watching John F. Kennedy get killed. You remember when you heard the news.
Yes.
And you didn't actually see the death. You just remember the president's dead, he got shot in Dallas, that's the news. And you're like, that's the moment. And to me, this is a lot like that too, because this is the moment. It's not like this big cinematic moment where it's slow motion and comes across. It's like thud, his head, it's off, he's dead, life goes on. And it's like, it's a weird kind of way to approach such a big moment, but like, this exists in life itself. And I think it's also important to Arya's character that it isn't some big romanticized thing. It's like a small like spark that like ignites this huge fire in her that she has the list and she's going.
She never gets
revenge.
over it. Yeah.
No, and it's kind of a commentary. I guess you could say a commentary on like this moment, which is presented in a very small, almost backhanded way, is basically the drive for her character from there on out. So I didn't hate it. I actually kind of appreciated it because it was kind of a different way to approach this.
Yeah, I liked it too. I mean, it's kind of weird though, because I mean, if you could maybe read that and not even get that he died, but I mean, it's there for you to pick up.
He didn't die in her heart. There you go.
He will live forever in her heart.
He's not really dead, but
what'd you think of the end? Oh, well, we got a good comment from Raymond Two Feathers. Great name.
Ooh, nice name.
The entire crowd gasping in unison is pretty powerful, and it leaves no doubt that Ned is dead. Apparently, okay, good. I'm glad you think that way, because honestly, I don't know. Like, I read it and I thought, like, maybe if I wasn't looking for it, I wouldn't think that meant death, but it is pretty clear. We all know what happened. Very well done chapter. Very well done scene in the show too.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? The end of the chapter is Yoren gets Arya, and he takes her aside, calls her a boy because he's trying to get into her head that, like, you're a boy, say you're a boy, or else they're gonna find you and kill you. The end of it, like, did you get what he was doing, cutting her hair? Because to me, it almost was phrased like he was cutting Arya.
Well,
like the final line is, she could feel her scalp tearing and on her lips the salt taste of tears. And this, like, man is taking a knife and, you know, doing something to her. We don't see, but we don't, we're not told quite what.
I interpreted this a little bit as like he is cutting Arya. He's cutting her identity. She's changing into something else.
Which she will do the entire story. Like, her whole Faceless Man thing is all about identity.
Yeah, she literally changes her face. Well, yeah. But this is him. I interpret it as him literally cutting her identity. This is like the end of that Arya. Like, that, who she is never going to exist ever again.
It's all very symbolic.
So it was it was very symbolic, where it's like cutting, and it's also, you know, pushes the story forward, so it's not like this, you know, overdone moment.
Yeah,
but
it's not gratuitous. It is. We do need to know what's happening here.
Yeah, but the context is there of, you know, Arya is no longer the same person, and she's having to come to the realization that she's different now, and life is different, and things are going to be different, and nothing is ever going to be the same. And that is like the death of the innocence of childhood, where the moment you realize that life is never going to be what it was ever again, and you just have to deal with it. And that's how I read that moment, in juxtaposition of her father's head being cut off.
It's literature, symbols all over the place. Kayla Stevenson says that about that noise, it is a noise that haunts her dreams, which is, I think, very effective.
Yes.
And it probably does. Let's talk about the politics of this all for a minute, because, I mean, this wasn't supposed to be an execution. We all realize that. Like, this is supposed to be Ned's deal.
Yep.
He confesses, which he did. He says straight up, I conspired to murder the king, which is completely false. We know that. When he wasn't cold in the ground. I recognize Joffrey's the true king. He knows that's not true. He's doing it because Varys gave him those terms where you do this, she'll probably let you go to the wall and your daughter will be okay. Things go wrong. So this is the moment where Joffrey kind of steps up, and he kind of becomes the big bad of the next couple of books, where he has a script. He knows he's supposed to pardon Ned, but he doesn't. Did I write anything down? I don't know. He instead has him executed. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head. The crowd roared, and Arya felt the statue of Baelor rock as they surged against it. What happens here? What goes wrong? Why does Joffrey go off script?
Well, I was wondering, adjacent to this, because Cersei acts all surprised that this is happening.
Everybody acts all surprised. Like, there's a whole paragraph of, like, Varys is shuffling around, being frantic. And I think the way I put it, like, even the queen was whispering something in his ear. She's surprised.
I don't know if I believe Cersei didn't know what was going on. I think it was more posturing, where it's like she has to act shocked, where it's like, oh no, this is terrible. But meanwhile, she's like, this is exactly the plan that I want played out. And I think it was brilliant because it's coming here at the end of this book. And I don't know, I guess, the context of it being published for the first time in whatever it was, 97. But
Around that,
I
yeah.
mean, was there the idea that this was going to be like a Lord of the Rings type series where there was going to be more than one book? Because that's a hell of a way to end a book.
It really is. Also, isn't it great that, like, if you read this for the first time, you got to this point, you'd be like,
Yeah.
what happens in the next
Exactly.
75 pages?
And then I want the next book right after that.
Right.
And that's like, the show has really kind of capitalized on that in, the cliffhanger from week to week
Right.
thing. But that's like 6-7 days that we're like, oh no, what's going to happen in the next episode? Yeah. And as we've come to find out, George R.R. Martin isn't necessarily quick in writing these books. So like, who knew at this time that
he used to be a lot quicker?
He did, but like now, if you were to say this comes out today, and we know George R.R. Martin is the plotting writer that he is, he's been known to be. There's no guarantee that we're going to get more story. And we especially don't know when. It's not like a movie. Star Wars ends and it's like, okay, in 2 years, we know we're going to get another Star Wars movie, or we know in 3 weeks we're going to get another Marvel movie because they come out all the time. But this, it's a book. Like, I have no idea what the timeline
The scheduling is, yeah.
Yeah, you got to get the manuscript and edit
He has a
it.
deadline, but he doesn't care about that.
He does not
You're
care
not
about
sticking
that.
deadlines.
So I just thought that was a really, really brilliant thing to put at the end of the book, because everything goes sideways in the last like 150
That's what you got to do, man. You got to, toward the end of your story, you got to flip it on its head in a way that actually works. People are hooked for life, which is basically what happened. Lisa thinks Joffrey was just being I can't say that word. See you next Tuesday. Which I think is right. And I disagree completely that Cersei knew about this. I think Cersei, she planned this out. She knows, which is what happens, that if they do kill Ned, they're going to have hell to pay. If the whole point of the Ned thing is to get him to defuse the Robb situation. That if he confesses and gets sent home, Robb has no reason to come get him.
Yeah.
And she knows that if that doesn't happen, he's going to come, and he does. And they end up fighting Robb and beating him anyway, but they have a big problem for a while.
Yeah.
To me, this is an act of Joffrey Baratheon. This is Joffrey Baratheon drunk on power. It feels like he just likes the crowd. He's not thinking far ahead at all. He's thinking they want him to be executed, this crowd, I'm going to give it to him. He's not thinking this means that we're going to be embroiled in a war. We might not win. Now, they do win, but he doesn't know that at the time. So I think even Cersei too little credit, but you can give her how much credit you want. What else? I like the way he describes how the clothes, because again, this is important. This is theater. This is political theater.
Yeah.
They're out here trying to make a big to-do of Ned Stark's confession. So everybody sees it. Everybody knows this is the way history happened. And then they get a lot more than they bargained for when Joffrey decides to flip the script and do his own history. It also underlines, again, how a minor character like Joffrey isn't that big of a deal, has a huge effect on the story. That history is chaotic and events just sometimes they just go sideways for reasons you don't expect. And the most carefully laid plans don't really mean much when you get to the moment of truth and just something you don't see happening happens, which is something that he does a lot. And I think this is like the most effective example of it.
Yeah.
Like, this didn't happen according to plan, but it means everything. It means everything for Arya. It means everything for the next 2 books, basically, is fallout from this. Whew, what a chapter.
It was a lot.
It was. And your thoughts, Josh, on Arya 5? Maybe the most important chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire?
I would say so. It was...
Well, you might read the rest.
Well, I mean, it's going to be hard to top. It happened. It's finally happened. Ned's done. This is... Really, I mean, the story's been happening, but I feel like this is the story starts.
It really kind of is. This is like the curtain. This whole thing was a prelude. Now the curtain rises on The Song of Ice and Fire. Which is the real
twist. So there you go.
What a twist.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. What else I get to say? Faraz says he changed all the story in deep. She totally did.
Yep.
And Lisa enjoys my "See you next Tuesday" comment. And also, I think it was a massive show just for Joffrey to get people to take him seriously. I totally agree, Lisa. This was Joffrey's coming out party for himself, and he didn't think about how it would affect anybody else. But because it's a great story, so go ahead, Joffrey, cut off heads. Next, we're going to do Bran 7.
All right.
See how the fallout begins. And we will not be here next week. We're going on a class outing, a company outing, so to say. So we're going to not be here next week, but the week after that, we'll be back with more Game of Thrones, more Song of Ice and Fire news, more Song of Dan and Josh. You can find us on iTunes or Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. Want to hear us in audio form. If you're interested in the Wit Club to get even more of us talking and other things besides that, you're free to go check out winterscoming.net or our Patreon page. And we hope to see you in 2 weeks. More all of this. And congrats to whoever ends up winning the mask and helmet.